Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look here at Matic, see what's going on, and just so you understand a little bit more about best practice, big picture, all that good stuff. I just love teaching people how to trade, so I hope you can learn something here today. I've got a trading academy, community, and signal group that I provide to all of my members. Link in the description below, CryptoCache.tech if you want to become a better trader with my trading academy. And of course, learn by osmosis with other esteemed individuals and other traders. So it's a really amazing experience, and I love working with every one of you. So thank you so much to my current community members for being just an amazing part of my life. Thank you. Take a look here at Matic. Here's kind of what's going on. The first thing we want to do is, it kind of looks like we're kind of breaking a trend. Let's see if we can go ahead and draw something out here. Because again, trend line breakouts have a tendency of doing quite well. We've seen this with Axie Infinity. I think Solana's primed and ready to go for another breakout too. And of course, generally speaking, when you see this descending type of pattern, at its highest point in December, it's come down from there. It's falling from grace, so to speak. But keep in mind, big picture on the weekly, we're still making higher highs and higher lows, and that's a very good sign. Okay, so Matic all in all is in pretty good shape. You can see a continuation here, of course. Now, is the next high going to be higher than $2.87? It remains to be seen. But the key here is to make higher lows. And to me, higher lows are important. So just note, big picture, we're definitely looking good in that sense. And then if we kind of look at, excuse me, this trend line here, the trend line breakout essentially occurred a few days ago, right? And ever since then, it's been progressing upwards, came down to bounce off a key level Fibonacci at 145, and now we're back up to about 160, 170 range. So really good stuff there in that sense, but how do we anticipate it going up higher from here? Well, there's a couple things you can do. You draw some trend lines, of course, kind of see, well, this is the approximate trajectory, right? It hasn't hit any lower point than this, and as long as it continues this trend, it'll continue upwards. Bitcoin's in like a 3-month upward trend overall in the last few weeks rather, and we keep seeing higher lows. Higher lows continue to eventually break out to the upside. Okay. Higher highs are not super important. Higher lows are more important. In this case, we're making higher lows. You can obviously see that. Furthermore, we've got a recent resistance here. In other words, the most recent high. We take that most recent high and we draw it out. And once again, we're doing the one-day candlestick closes. Don't worry about the wicks. We can see here that there's a resistance level here right about 164 is a round number. Big coincidence, the price came up to 164 and retraced already. Here today, it's tested that level already. So, are we going to break out? The likelihood is very high considering the fact that we're in an ascending pattern, we broke a downward trend, we're making higher lows, and we're almost about to break a most recent high to establish a new higher high. Those are all amazing things there, and that's extremely important to see. So once we break above here, a close above 164 as a rough estimate would be a really good start. You could even hedge your bets and kind of get in now because the likelihood of it continuing higher is there. This thing you need to understand though is that Bitcoin could pull back a little bit because most of the market's a bit on the overextended side. Even though there's all good, strong continuation plays and the likelihood that the price can keep going up is very high, you got to recognize the fact that that could potentially occur. Now, Axie Infinity is another one that I called out recently 3 days ago when it had the same exact formulation as this here. It had the same breakout from the descending trend line, had an ascending pattern, and it broke key level resistance, came back down and consolidated at support. So if we see this break above and come back down and consolidate at 164, that's go time, okay? So just keep that in mind. That's kind of what we're looking for. That is essentially a trend line play, and I think we're about there with Matic. So this is definitely on the short list of something I want to pay attention to in the immediate future. All right, I'll go ahead and tighten this up just a little bit here. But generally speaking, we're looking good. What we want to look at too as well, let's go back to the 1 day. Look at the RSI. You can see we kind of almost got a bounce off of 50 in the RSI. So 50 is no longer working as a resistance. It's currently a support. And once again, that reiterates that volume support at 145. In fact, let's take a look at the volume. We can see a lot of volume currently at the recent price point. Now, granted, this is not a large time frame. Let's go ahead and take a look at a bigger time frame. Let's just go with the last, approximate of a year and see most amount of volume accumulation right at 145. So again, you take the last years of trading data, 145 is the absolute bottom. So if you're going to go ahead and do a set a stop loss, for example, 143 or 140 would be probably a good recommendation there because the likelihood of it coming down much lower from there is low, right? Again, volume support speaks very loud. People don't use it, but I think it's important to understand. So again, the 1 day looks good. I'm sorry, I skipped over the RSI. Yes, it's coming up between 50 and 70. We're great there. On the 4 hour, we're up a little bit overextended here on the 4 hour. Keep in mind this could bounce as a potential support, but likelihood of that happening is pretty low. So I think a pullback closer to about 157 would be appropriate, based on that being a Fibonacci retracement level, and or worst case scenario, it comes back down to the most recent high and or previous high of 152. So let's draw that out as well. 152 should work as a support level. In fact, why don't we just go ahead and get rid of Fibonacci altogether and just deal strictly with the trend lines and the most recent supports. So we're probably going to see a range between 152 and 164. Let's see what the TD sequential tells us here. We're at a 9 on TD sequential. So once again, the likelihood of pullback is greater. So we should expect a price at best to consolidate at the current price point and or retrace down to 153. So I'd pay attention. What I'll do is I'm going to set an alert right around 156. Take another look later and then see if we end up coming down to that level, if we can kind of reinvest. Heaven forbid the price stays up where it's at, it'll probably come back down to test that level again. Okay, so if we break 164, just say in the immediate future, next 24 hours, which I think is a lower probability, but if it happens, then we'll see that the price essentially come back down to that previous resistance to test that support. It's very commonplace. So again, that's being said, just know we could see a pullback. It may not be large. It probably won't be super huge. But generally speaking, I think that we could expect something to come back down, and that would be a better place to add your position. And there's two different schools of thought there. You could wait for the price to come down altogether and take a larger position. You could also take two positions. In other words, one right now with a 50% entry and another entry target at a lower price point of 156 and or 152, or more importantly, probably 153. So, generally that's kind of a thought process there. That's one thing I like to use, and it's really important. Here's a kind of example of how a trendline break happens. Do you see how the price comes up here, got rejected, came back up, essentially fulfilled a cup and handle pattern, and then it comes up. What it does, it breaks above this key level of resistance, comes down to test it, and then comes up from there. So we should expect the same thing. It comes up here, it'll come down, test that resistance, and come back up again, especially with that being a stronger point of contention at 164. So just something to pay attention to. Those are kind of how things just naturally happen in trading. What we want to look at here is Ichimoku Cloud looks great. TD sequential, we're at a 9. Once again, we got a reset. So there is potential for an upside, but just note we're coming from a previous 9 here as well. 2 9s in a row and an 8 on TD sequential, or a 9 on TDS. On the 4 hour really tells us that we're on the overextended side, and a pullback is fairly anticipated. Okay, no guarantees, of course, but the probability of coming down is higher. Worst case scenario again, or better case, depending on how you look at it, is the price consolidates at the current price point, 161 to 164 range, and then breaks out. Okay. One way or the other, I think the inevitability of the price action going higher than lower is there. We just got to understand too, this trend line does give us some time here, right? So we kind of look, we could literally, go sideways for the next 3 or 4 days, and then it breaks that trend line. You never truly know. But generally speaking, I think the lowest we're going to see the price right now is retraced to 152. And once again, we've already acknowledged that price point around 146, if I recall correctly, on the volume profile. What was it? 142 rather. Okay, so 142 to 152 range is a solid support channel. So all in all, Matic's looking fantastic. There's really no downside here except for the fact that we have overextension on the shorter time frames, which should experience in a pullback. The pullback should not be greater than 52 or 152 or 156. You should see some kind of consolidation in that range. And if the price keeps going up, great. Just dollar cost average, add to your position. All in all, I think Matic is more of a safe bet at this point. Is it going to be parabolic and go crazy bonkers? Probably not. It has a tendency of, yes, going on some runs, but we got to understand too, the volume is something to acknowledge. We're going to need way more volume to be able to see these kind of price points again, okay? And again, May was a different story, right? 64,000 from Bitcoin. We're at, sub 46 right now. But you got to keep in mind too, we're lower on Bitcoin and Matic's overall higher price point. That's a very good sign, right? It's that typical higher lows on the larger time frames. So we're looking pretty good here still, even so. Okay, so again, great stuff here from Matic. I feel like we have this, turnaround happening right now. We just got to break that key level resistance at 164 and we'll be off to the races. Whatever you do between now and then is really irrelevant in a lot of ways because just add to your position and the likelihood of the price going up from here is higher. based on the sentiment that Bitcoin is overall trending positively. It's still in a momentum play, so to speak, and we're expecting the price to consolidate from Bitcoin soon, so I'd expect the same from Matic. But once again, this should break out harder than Bitcoin will based on the ways in which it's setting itself up right now. I hope you found benefit, and if you're not currently a community member, consider subscribing. I want to work with you, hopefully help you become a better trader. I've got a trading academy, teaches you how to trade. Signal group, you can auto-follow my trades if you'd like. We've been very profitable recently, and of course, in general, it'll teach you how to structure your trades more effectively. That's the whole point, right? Teach you to fish for a lifetime, not just for one day. All right? I hope you find benefit once more. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks for your time. See you in the next one.